Namaskar and welcome to this exciting show, Sattology Debunking Mythology. It's always our endeavor to bring you interesting talks on the history. Why we focus on the history is because history builds our identity. Most of the students nowadays, and especially in the colleges we see, they don't want to go for these topics, which is considered unemployable, right? It's a very common thing that there's not much employment here in this field. Rather go for computer science, engineering, or any others where they can get a quick job. However, some of us have to do that job to maintain the traditions. So some of you are in humanities, arts, and culture, and some of you are in languages, some of you are in history. So these things are extremely important for the growth of the human civilization. And job productive part is also there. So both are productive according to me. So with that in mind, I have a very famous guest in his own right, and he's going to talk about history, what it is not. So without delay, let us welcome Gopal Goswami.
Namaste. Namaskar to all of you. Thank you again for hosting me here. Aditi ji,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Most welcome. So, Gopalji, what it is, history is what it is not. I don't know what is being taught nowadays. And since you are yourself an academic and in that area, what do you tell? Like, how do you define what it is? Why the attractiveness of history is gone?
Aditi ji, first of all, people, the civilization, those forget their history will be lost in future. We have seen it right from Greece, Egypt, Babylon, Mongolia, now many of them they have vanished by the time because they have not they have not inherited it to their generation next. They could not carry it over. The history is always the inspiration for the future. What I believe. Mr. Ajit Dobal once he narrated one story, small story. I will take 2 minutes for this. There was a rabbi, the Jewish priest in Saint Petersburg in Russia. He used to go. It is the story goes back to 1,000 years back when they were expelled from this Arabia, Israel, and they expelled over all over the world by the Islamic invaders and by the conversion. They were spreaded all over the world. So what happened? The Rabbi was to was used to go each and every Jew every day and convince them we have to go to Jerusalem. Israel is our country. So many journalists they used to follow him, and one day, and he was not means convergent with them. Finally, somehow one journalist one day grabbed him, somehow convinced that he should talk to him. He asked one question that you are very few spread all over the world and you talk next year Jerusalem. What is this? How you are going to conquer that or unite the Jews spread all over the world and take back your land? So he said he will do it. How you will do it? The way I am doing it. I am meeting each day. I am meeting new people's Jewish people. I inspire them to uh, unite and fight for the Jerusalem. So he asked one question: how far this fight will go? The answer was very interesting. Until we won. So this very sentence, until we won, was very interesting for the journalist. And he asked another question: what is the biggest challenge you see? So the reply was even more interesting. He said, the zeal of going to Jerusalem next year, to continue this zeal in our generation next is the biggest challenge. So if you are not connected with your history, you are not proud of your roots, your ancestor, See, disrespecting history is as disrespecting your parents, because the history is somehow, somewhere, they are our ancestors. Now, very interesting one incident happened with me. I was sitting with the students, a group of students of a National Institute of Technology engineering students. We used to go and talk about things, culture, history, etc. So it was a discussion about Kashmir in those days. It was around stories around 5 years back. So one student came that our Indian soldiers are committing atrocities on upon the Kashmiri peoples. So some of the students started arguing, how could you say this thing even? So he said, yes, it is written, it is in the book. Another student asked, where you have written this, read this? So he said, the famous book of Arundhati Rai, Ajadi. So all who knew what is Arundhati Rai, they started laughing. And it was strange for that student. Say, what? Why you are laughing? She is a Magsaysay Award, Booker Award winner. So how this is how the history is fabricated. The history is written on payrolls. The history is written uh, on sponsor basis to set your agendas. The modern history, what we call is, and it is being teached in taught in colleges, and students are getting feed out of that those books written by so-called historians. So history is not all about what it is written by these peoples. These are built up narratives. For one instance, if we say Qutub Minar was built by Qutubuddin Aibak. Qutubuddin Aibak was originally from Turkey. He was lieutenant of this Muhammad Ghori. Now, can somebody show traces of any of monument that has been built in Turkey or the Arabic world or the Afghanistan area in those times, other than the pre-Islamic history, like Palmyra, like the great pyramids of Giza and other in Egypt, Egyptian pyramids? No, they cannot show because there was nothing. They were barbaric. They were jungly peoples. So they don't have anything to show about and to cherish about. So what you will do if you want to cut somebody, then you will destroy his history. What history is being made in last 400-500 years is they just change the nameplates of the monuments. Somewhere they build some domes. Even dome is Indian architecture. That is also not from came from outside. Mughal came. See, one more thing. People who borrowed even surnames, like the Khan. Genghis Khan was not a Muslim. The Khan, the Shah, those surnames are borrowed from other religions, and they claim that they have made India rich, and they have brought architecture and culture to this country. So this is the thing how the things has been done. The payrolls, historian, they have done all these things. Now, how we can see the history beyond these books, beyond these fabricated history books, is what our ancestor tells us. Like in last topic, we have discussed two incidents. Uh, Here today, I want to discuss two incidents that is related to me itself. See, I come from a remote village in Uttarakhand where I used to uh, do seva at a Sivalaya that is built around 100 years back by my great grandfather. He was not originally from that place where it is. That is called a Bamradi, a small village in Bageshwar district of Uttarakhand. So, there is one story. Now you can say story or For me, it is my history. My great grandfather, he used to travel, and though in those days there was no roads, so you people used to travel on pagdandis, the small walkways in the hills, and in the daytime they will stay somewhere. They will have food in the village, nearby village, and they will then start the onward journey. So my great grandfather was a Jyotisi. He was a Jyotisi, and he was traveling through that terrain. He went to the village. He had a lunch there. Then he lay down for some rest or some relaxation under one tree. There he fell asleep, and there he said that he has got some dream that somebody told him that where you are just now lying, uh, one great Shivalaya is buried here. And there was a place, it has one great Shivalaya, and it was buried under by some natural calamity. For one instant, he thought that it is just a dream. Then he thought, why not to give it a shot? He went to the village, he called some people, they started digging that place, and the place was actually having some great murtis, great deities like Shiva, Parvati, Ganesh, Mahishashurmardini, and Bhairav. All these things came, all these statues of 2 to 3 feet height emerged from there. Then they established a Shivalaya there, a small Shivalaya. And my great grandfather, he continued the journey and told the people that I will be back, since they requested them to remain there. He went ahead in his pilgrimage, and he came back after 1.5 years to that place after having a long journey. Then they requested him to remain there. Then our people shifted from Nainital, nearby village of Nainital, to that place. My great grandfather and my great grandmother shifted there, and we lived there. It is just fourth generation for me. So, what is that? The idols are buried under that. There was a natural calamity. Now we can see that there was a uphill, some catastrophe, some cloud burst has happened, and the entire area was uh, abolished, like what happened at Kedarnath. So the things, the place. Now, if I say it, it will be look like a fiction, but it is history. From my village, just 10 kilometer away, not even 10 kilometer away, one place is called Chamerta, one small village with 2, 3 houses. It is on uphill where there is no water. There is a story that someday one machuara, the fisherman, was catching the fish in his jal net. The net is being revered as a strong thing against the evil forces in the hills. So one yaksha, he came under that net, and he pleaded to remove him from the net. The yaksha requested him that I can fulfill your one wish, whatever you say, but please leave me. Then that fellow has requested that this area, the hilltop, and that step farms, there is no water. I need water in that. He said, okay, you do one thing. In the night, you do the boundaries of the small fields, and in the night, that water will be filled. And it is happening as on day anyone can go and verify it. What was that? There is no water. Just what they do the land cultivation, and in the night the water is filled. I don't know what happens, and it happens only when the crop season comes. Means you show new seeds in that field. It is history or not? Just because it has not been documented because that time we were under slavery, we didn't have resources to pen it down, doesn't mean that it is not a history. So it has happened all along our history. Our 300, 400 years have been painted red by the historian, paid historians. Aditya.
The great opening comments, and I think you touched on many, many points, and thank you for that. Now, in my second book, I have written the Narad's Instructions Yudhishthir, where it is the duty of the rulers to tell the right history, and that is 5,000 years back, before Ratsu Yagya. Narada told Yudhishthir, you should have scholars who are traveling all over the land to tell others about the great history of your ancestors, and also telling the history which is relevant. Like, for example, uh, the you just said the invaders history, they only destroyed things that's not relevant. It's just like the
Yes,
Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory is a huge explosion happened and something wonderful came out. And people, we have seen in the history that any bomb explosion has not produced anything good.
anything
It has
positive.
only destroyed things. So destruction and reconstruction doesn't teach anything to anyone, but it is a duty of the rulers or whosoever is in power to tell people the relevant history so that people's character improves. That's the whole purpose of history. Is
Yes,
building a
you can
character.
see the Ramlila. Every year we play the Ramlila. Why? I used to wonder in my childhood why every year we are doing this Ramlila when we know the things to remind us about the character of Ram. From here, one thing more: if you go to Nagaland, the Ramayana is same. If you go to a small village near Kunur in Kerala, you will find the Ramayana story same. If you go to Kashmir, you will find the story same. If you go to the end of Kutch, you will find the story same. That it will be same if it is a truth, because if it is not truth, if it is fiction, how could it be spread in entire area if they did not have the communication means in that time? Each tribal people, each people of means our community, each man you pick up, he will say the exactly same Ramayana, because it was a true event. It was a history. Had it been anything fictitious or made up or cooked up story, it had been different in different areas. Same with the Mahabharata. So people who says who deny the existence of Bhagwan Ram at Ayodhya. See, one thing when Babar has invented that Ram Mandir at Janmabhoomi, and his uh, lieutenant, he has built up a mosque over that. He has written it in his memoirs. It is in written memoirs. So present day historian, what they are doing, they are denying those memoirs which were written by the horse's mouth, and they say no, 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 it has not been invaded, or the mosque has been not built over the temple, and there was no existence of Ram. The invader who destroyed the temple, built up the mosque, he writes his in his memoirs, and we are today, our historian today is telling no, 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 this was not there. There was no mosque, there was no temple under the mosque. So would you say them historians like Irfan Habib and Romila Thapas, who are on paid role of some peoples who want to destroy things? See, our historians are carrying those skeleton which has been destroyed even where they born, like the Marxism, the Maoism are dead. I think 3 4 decades ago. China has buried Maoism around 3 decades ago. But our historians, they are still carrying, still want them to be alive because they are getting their bread and butter on that. They are not telling anything just out of knowledge and curiosity or anything. They are just a mouthpiece of some people with some agenda. They are getting grants, they are getting funds from the outside forces just to uh, keep their things running, their show running. They are teaching these things. Irfan Habib, who claims himself as a historian, he looks like means when he speaks, he looks like a radical Islamic mullah. He never speaks like a historian. Like you can say the what his name is, the archaeologist who has come up with the archaeological survey of Ayodhya, Muhammad.
Kiki Mohammed.
He openly says he speaks like an archaeologist. He says yes, of course there was these things and this thing, that thing. He speaks like a technical man. But if you ask Irfan Habib, you speak like a typical radical Islamist mullah. How we can say that these people have must have done justice to our history? And the how the ecosystem is being built, that is more interesting, I think. What they do, they will pick up some man, he will write some shit, it will be lobbied somewhere, and he will get a Booker Prize or something, some prize at some place, some small room of somewhere in West, and he will get a prize, and it will be propagated across the media in India and made him famous, and he will be established like as a historian. And then what he says, or new generation will follow, of course, because the entire media has propagated that he is established writer or whatever it is. So historians are on payrolls, and history is being fabricated on payrolls. That is my take on the modern history. And I request all the new generation, they must explore the new dimensions, the old dimensions, and use their own wisdom. Don't don't get carried away by one narration, one narrative. What I am talking, don't go blindly by this. You have all the translation of Ramayana, Mahabharata, Upanishad, Veda, Purana, everything you have. You compare it with other texts, compare the genuinity, check the genuinity, go to the places. Now, if we want to discuss the archaeological greatness of Mughals, go to Rajasthan, see the Rajput Sailis, see the Jain Saili of temples, go to Mandu in MP, see the great architecture just 2000, 3000 years back. Go to Vijayanagar, the Hampi, go to Ajanta, Alora, and that Kailash Mandir. Go to Himalaya, each and every valley has a beautiful range of great temples. You will amaze that in those days how these big stones, it was around somewhere around 2 ton, 3 ton weighing stones has been erected over the top of the temples. If you really want to see the architecture, you go to South India. Why it is not being taught? Why every time each one came to India, is being rushed to Taj Mahal to see a graveyard, to see a grave? Why not the temples, the great architectural beauty of this country? And one more scandal is there, what I feel, the dating. Aditya, the dating is more important. What modern students and student of engineering and architecture and technology, they must redo the dating, because they just as you told that day, they don't want to go beyond the Jew theory, Jewish origin. 200, 300 year BC. They don't want to go beyond that. Whereas the temples are much more older. Their date is the most of the temple they date 7th to 8th century, and most of the dating people, the architect, archaeologists, they are of influenced by the leftist lobby. So they want to paint it that around the advent of Islam, uh, India also had its advent in technology and architectural greatness.
So there is a concept of synchronity between international dates. So, so most of the Western world, because it's a made-up story of their festivals, Abrahamic festivals, made up. Most of the stories are made up. So they have identified 4000 BC as the origin of the world, and that they've come up. But they are not able to answer questions that there are some modern temples in India and many other places, including pyramids. Their dates start minimum at 10,000 BC or
Yes,
somewhere there. You know,
I
many.
agree.
So this is the again a political thing where they don't want to recognize, and let me tell you the failure of dating technology. We had many sessions with KK Mohammed here, and he explained us the why the dating doesn't work. Most of the dating, the carbon deposits lose the amount of layer which is required for a successful dating. So dating doesn't work. So now,
Right.
and there is no other technology. There are other technologies like MRI and other things, but they're very, very expensive to be used by historians. And still then there is a failure of again dating. So the only thing left is the cross examination of historical dates when the events did happen. And like we all know that we have from Purana is like the Vedic scriptures are one of the best documented ones in terms of dates, because they put the astronomical coordinates which no other history does. No other history has astronomical coordinates, because if they believe in astronomical coordinates, then whatever they have claimed their birth of this thing is all gone,
They will be exposed.
exposed.
That's why they don't want to even acknowledge this great science.
So it becomes a paganic, satanic,
Yes,
all these things they
yes,
call it.
yes.
They call all the Hindus as pagan, idol worshippers, all these things they say. So, but the problem is that they themselves are looking for identity. They have to define something.
Right.
Like, for example, if you go to Vatican, then the entire museum is filled with Coptic Christians things. But actually, Coptic doesn't mean Christians. Coptic means pre-Christian, and and so now they are building on top of it. So trying to find how they are connected to the pharaohs of Egypt, and they keep on losing it. Like it is not possible for them to connect a fake story with a real history. Not possible. Now for so but in India, the when you talk to the Western academic, they have a very simple thing. And also, you rightly pointed out, uh, it's a big it's all
And
based on give and take. It's a big ecosystem has been created to pursue the wrong history. Now, in case of India, which has the original history, if they take an initiative of starting rewriting India's history and its connection with the world history, then people are going to listen. So right now everything is in the private circle.
no,
Even
it
the
is happening.
even
VIF,
the national,
Vivekananda International Foundation has already come up with 8 volumes. If you
yeah,
need, I
but
can send it.
it's still not being taught in the schools.
Yes,
So
yes, that is the.
yeah, unless you start making it a formal document, and the history books have to be taught from 8 to 18, small history books based on big history volume, and then college university, it's not going to change all over the world. So Western university will say, did your university change it? And
Hmm.
they most of the Indians will say no.
No,
So it's
then
done.
why I should we should
Why we should change it?
yes, right.
And if you want to get a recognition, then you better follow our system. So it's a vicious cycle right there. So what
One
steps do you think?
important thing, one important thing. What are the repercussion of teaching wrong history? See, the Islam and its origin. It has one book, Quran, that is all science, all history, all spirituality, that everything comes within a book that has 600 verses. Now, how this not respecting, not realizing, not teaching the right history can lead to today's world problem is Islam, and how it has been shadowed by these leftist historians all over the world. Quran says this is the word of Allah, God. There is one God, and we also say the same thing from the last thousands of years. Eko ham ditiyo nasti. Eko ham bhunasya raja. There is one only God. There is one God, only God, and we worship it in different form. Now, Quran says that this is the last uh, revealing, and Prophet Muhammad is the last prophet. Now, it also says that 1,20,000 prophets has already passed. Each teaching of those are also to be respected. Each prophet is to be respected. What happened to that? Today, a Muslim do not know what was before 7th century. He do not wish to know because he has been told that any other book, any other text, religious text than Quran, other than Quran, is kufr, apostate. So is it not in contrast with the teaching of Quran, which says actually that all the messengers came up to Muhammad were relevant. Their teaching were relevant. Something here and there happened. They have started idolating. Now these are the final words, and there will henceforth there will not be any messenger. Fine, we have no problem, no contest with that. But what about the word that all the teaching of all the prophets, all the messenger, 1,20,000 messenger came before Muhammad will be relevant has happened. Why not they are being respected as their ancestor? Today, Islamic scholar says that Adam was born in India. Yes, we say the same thing. We say Manu and Ida. We also say the same thing. But you have named them some way or other. Had it been the right history, had we told them that these were the chronology of the history, and Islam is one part of this, and the pre-Islamic era was also was relevant to the mankind as the path of Quran also will be. So this world would have been a better place to live today, right?
Yeah, good point here. But the again the onus goes back to the people who are teaching history. Again, onus goes back over there. People are not going to. People are going to say, "Make your house in order." We'll listen to you. Very easy. If you don't put your house in order, why should we believe in you? So you and I can discuss here, and we have a lot of academics here also on the call, and they it's the same question that if you want to correct world history, produce your version of it. If you don't have your version, then listen to my version. It's very simple.
Right.
So it's the I don't know where's the problem is, why so with so much proof there. It's very easy to say that, okay, this is my version, this is what we're teaching. If you don't agree with us, we ban you. Very easy. We de-recognize you.
We are in the process.
The
Bharat is
day
Bharat is rising again.
the day
But
India I tell you one thing: the day India de-recognizes Oxford, Stanford, Wharton, Yale School on teaching Indian history, de-recognizes it, that their teachings, their books are not valid in India, I'm telling you, the whole academic world will change.
Right.
One simple act. I've been telling this to so many people in Indian education ministries. The day you say we don't accept your version, it's over.
Okay.
That's one
Good
thing.
one.
So till that, if you're not doing it, oh, we are working with the world, we are friends, your brothers, and we all work together. It's not going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. And
It's
after
like
5 years,
sleeping with the enemy.
you're
It's
sleeping.
like sleeping with the enemy. And one more thing is there to add. See, the ecosystem is so strong in the academia in India that each student is being nurtured under those leftist historians, leftist teaching professors. They are being threatened. They are being forced to toe the line. Otherwise, they will spoil their careers.
Yeah, they won't give you
They will,
money. They won't give you money for research. It's
right.
it's a vicious cycle. They will stop your funding.
Yes.
Departments will
Yes.
close down.
Yes.
And so it is not the fault of the students now.
Yes. No, I don't. I agree with you completely. It is
It's
not
not
the
the
fault
fault
of
of
the
the
student.
students nor the faculty. They all want to teach the right thing.
They are pleasing their professor so that he recognizes thesis, he acknowledges his degree, he decorate him as a doctorate, or and then he employ in somewhere in his ecosystem somewhere in some colleges and somewhere.
So the complaining is not the solution now. We know the problem.
No, no, we are working upon that.
The
We are
problem
working
is
upon that. The process is on. The means the sanitization is on. It will take some time because once somebody enters into the academia, it is very difficult
gone.
to remove him from
Gone.
there.
Yeah, it's gone.
Gone.
But the
Yes.
government has the whip. They can say, if you do not teach the right history, I stop your funding. It's over.
So it has happened. All the stipends for this MPhil that has been abolished, other than technical. We have stopped funding for the sociology, like Australia did. Australia, they have said that if you want to spend money on that these bullshit things, like what we are teaching right now in the name of sociology and history, are Marxism or Maoism, which are obsolete and has been completely abolished from its origin. Why we should teach them? Why we should teach them in our institution right now? Why don't we go to the great era of Vedic era or post Vedic era and Mahabharata era and Puranic era and teach them the moral ethics, the sociology, how the sociology was, how the social engineering was, everything we can take from there. Today, what happens if somebody, some atrocity is committed on some marginalized people, it is being fueled. We should specify it. A lot of people are working to remove this evil from the society. Why not we consolidate with them, we strengthen their hands so that we remove this disparity. Rather, what we will do, we'll create one neta out of that incident.
In last 3,000 years, there have been so many scientists, so many historians and so many kings have come in, and I'm talking post Mahabharata history, 3 to 4,000 years. So many people have come, and none of their mentions are in the books. And but the places where they lived, the temples they created, the kingdoms they created were all there. There's no major
Still
mention
there
of still.
today, still there, still there.
The sea routes for the East, Southeast Asia were discovered by Cholas, established by
Hmm,
Cholas, including the
hmm,
ports.
hmm.
Those are also still there. And when you do not discuss about them, and then so it's you cannot blame the students, cannot blame the faculty, because it's the work of the government to teach the right history to the to the people. Now, if you make the changes, NCRT history, somebody was telling me, is a lot of things are there where they replace the names with the Islamic names, and The Islamic names are not origin of India. They are come from the Arabic world, or
Yes,
Persian world. They are not from
there is
India.
nothing like Islamic thing. It is Arabic script. It is Arabic language. Everything is Arabic. Nothing to with Islam. Al-Buruni was not a Muslim. I think it is a local language, local text, local everything. It means belongs to that particular place, not to any particular caste or religion or philosophy.
So the Western world is learning the history of India told by the Indian universities, and so it's a vicious cycle. So if India changes their textbooks, India changes it. The Western world will also change it. It's a very
India is
easy
in
one.
process.
You
I
just
assure
have,
you.
we just
I
you just
assure
have
you,
to.
within next 5 to 10 years, it will be completely changed.
So once India says, Indian Education Ministry says Oxford is banned, Stanford is banned, Harvard is banned, and all these universities are banned in India to teach their course material. It will take 45 minutes, only 45 minutes, for them to reintroduce a new syllabus. You don't have to wait for 5 years also, not 6 years, 10 years, 45 minutes maximum, and try it out. Within the day Indian government makes a notification that they are banned, in 45 minutes, by next day a new course will be introduced in those universities. Next day. So they can talk anything they want. They can talk Disney, they can talk La La Land, whatever they want to talk, teach the students. It's okay with them. We de-recognize it. Indians de-recognize it. So the moment they do that, they will have to change because their revenue comes from India. You pay
Right.
them to continue
Yes.
destroy your own history.
That we have to understand. We are paying them to destroy our history. That is
Correct.
the right one.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
paying them to destroy your own history. So you can't blame them. They're happy. They're taking money from you and also telling you a junk.
And I'm sending my daughter to ASU to learn her anti-India things. I know that.
So it's a great discussion. Thank you, Gopalji, for coming, and for viewers for watching. We'll continue with that, and do subscribe on the YouTube channel, and also share it with your friends as it comes out on the YouTube. Thank
Thank
you, and
you.
namaskar.